My name is Juha-Pekka Natunen and I'm a producer at the Saimaa Film Festival, and we are really happy that you all are here. So this is the second happening of the festival. We did one last year and it was, let's say, fantastic for us. We get a really good start and everything that happens after it, it's just growing bigger and bigger. For example, last year we had really good selection of international movies, but today and this festival we have over 130 different movies from 30 different countries. So we can actually say that Saimaa Film Festival is an international festival, and we are really happy about it. And for something more, we have this short letter coming from Sodankylä Film Festival, and I'm actually going to read it to you. So just a second. This is from Timo Malmi, and it's written in English. Okay. Dear guests of Saimaa Film Festival opening ceremony, welcome to one of Finland's most distinctive film festivals. It is my honor as an artistic director of the Midnight Sun Film Festival in Sodankylä to deliver this opening greeting to you remotely. The festival's patron Aki Kaurismäki, by far Finland's most internationally renowned filmmaker, is unfortunately to join you in this occasion. There is not always much cause for celebration when we consider the stage of film culture today. A few years ago in Sodankylä we published an appeal signed by numerous Finnish film enthusiasts calling the establishment of film festivals, film clubs and similar events throughout the country with the aim of filling Finland with the joy and spirit of cinematic arts. The list of signatures gathered quickly and spontaneously during the festival represented impressive cross-section of Finland's leading film enthusiasts from Aki Kaurismäki to the current foreign minister Pekka Haavisto. Encouragingly, in the difficult years following the pandemic, an extraordinary variety of new platforms for cinema have emerged across Finland, from Hanko to Lapland and from Pori to South Karelia. This is also part of a global trend. Countless film festivals are taking place somewhere in the world every single day. There is even one held at Christmas. At times, however, it is disappointing to see how many film festivals around the world seem to minor one another in their programming. The same so-called best film of the year travel from one country and capital city to another. There are usually feature-length fiction films, often the very same titles that later make their way into the programs of these so-called art house cinemas. The Saimaa Film Festival takes cinema beyond Finland's largest population centers and does so with a refreshingly diverse program. It gives a significant space to short films and documentaries while presenting an impressive broad range of countries of productions. There are films that audiences rarely have the opportunity to encounter in commercial cinemas, for that matter, or on television. I am confident that the festival's artistic director Kamran Shamardan has done his utmost to safeguard the artistic quality of the program. I am equally confident that Katri Ladd, Shamardan and the entire organization team have succeeded in creating an enjoyable environment in which audiences can experience these films surrounded by beauty of Finnish nature. After all, the most important purpose of a film festival extends far beyond what happens on the screen. It lies in the encounters, conversations, and exchange between audiences and the filmmakers. The road of art, culture, and education can be a rocky one in Finland today. and at times the journey can be demanding. It requires enthusiasm, perseverance, and occasionally a touch of creative madness. But being film crazy has its rewards too. Cinephilia is rather a healthy disease. Through the seventh art, we are given unique experiences and something that brings greater meaning and richness to our lives. Allow me to conclude with a personal experience that I hope I may offer some encouragement. Although the Midnight Sun Film Festival in Sodankylä is Finland's most internationally renowned film festival and perhaps one of the country's best-known festivals of any kind, its journey has not always been easy. Despite decades of persistent work and the support of loyal audiences, there have been challenges both financially and building in the audience. When I first came to work for the festival 33 years ago, with the task of helping develop and curate its program, there was one late night screening attended by only 3 people. 2 of them left before the film was over, and when the film ended, the projectionist had to wake up the third one. The problem was not the quality of the film, nor the quality of the audience. Quite simply, on that particular occasion, the programming had failed to meet the audience's needs. Today, the situation is rather different. One of our recurring problems, a very positive one, of course, is that the festival screenings are constantly selling out. I attended my first film festival in Tampere, Finland, around 53 years ago. Drawing on more than half of the century of experience, it is both a joy and honor as a veteran of the field to wish young and vibrant Saimaa Film Festival every success for the future. May you continue your important mission of sharing, celebrating, and championing the achievements of cinematic arts. Warmest congratulations and every success to the Saimaa Film Festival. Okay, so Kiira, our assistant producer, has something to say too.
Hello, dear friends. My name is Kiira. I'm an assistant producer of Saimaa Film Festival. And today I want to just give a little speech on behalf of our amazing artistic director, Kamran Shahmardan. Just a couple of words about why we have cinema and why we are all here right now on the Saimaa Film Festival. Dear friends, colleagues, and participants of the Second International Film Conference and the second edition of Saimaa Film Festival. It is a great pleasure to welcome you to the first professional seminar held as part of the Saimaa Film Festival. We have gathered here not simply to talk about cinema. We are here because human beings have always felt the need to see beyond the visible, to reach for something that lies beyond the horizon. This is where art begins, and this is also where cinema begins. Every film is an attempt to understand the human being and our place in the world. Sometimes it succeeds, sometimes it doesn't. But it is precisely this attempt that gives cinema its meaning. Cinema today exists in a contradictory time. It has become part of the entertainment industry, the marketplace, and sometimes even the part of politics. Yet true cinema is both neither from budgets nor from technology. It begins with an inner necessity to tell a story without which we cannot fully understand ourselves or the world around us. South Karelia is not yet widely known as a center of film production, yet this region possesses something unique: the silence of its forests, the breadth of its lakes, the northern lights, and landscapes where a person can still stop and listen to themselves. We want this region to become a place where films are made. We're developing the conditions for production, building infrastructure, preparing our own projects, and seeking international partners. We believe that significant cinema can also be created far beyond the established centers of the film industry. But perhaps the most important question is, why do we make films? To entertain, to earn money, to influence others, or because we want to encounter the human being and our own time as truthfully as possible? Cinema has never been merely entertainment. It is part of our collective memory. Through cinema, we learn to love, to fear, to feel compassion, and to search for meaning. On the screen, we encounter people we have never met, yet through them we begin to understand ourselves. That is why the filmmaker's responsibility begins even before the first frame is shot. We do not simply create films, we create images of the future, a shared cultural memory, and ways in which future generations may come to see the world. And we hope, this seminar will become a place where we do not seek anonymity, but new perspectives. A place for dialogue, courageous ideas, constructive criticism, and new collaborations. Because true cinema always begins with a question to which no one yet has a ready answer. A warm welcome to Saimaa Film Festival.
Okay, so for the actual openings have now been done, and then we go to the different parts of the program. And in a way, when we are just doing the festival only a second time, we can do these new things that we haven't done before. So we're all welcoming you all, if you wish to stay, at the first ever held Saimaa Film Festival Film Professionals Day. So shortly we'll be presenting you the whole program, if you wish to look it up. So Joona, can you launch it up, please? Okay, this is something that we are actually quite proud of, and we are eager to hear and see all the interesting content we are having here. And what comes to this professional event, there's of course many interesting talks about these things, and for the professionals we have also designed a night event at a different location where they can all meet each other and speak from things that matter. But for the part of we are holding here, this is the program, and this is how we're going to do. So, if it's okay, we have the first opening speech. That's with Panu Kärri. Are you, Panu, ready?
I'm here. Okay, so my name is Panu Kärri. I'm the regional manager, not regional. Yeah. I took it from JP. I'm the manager of tourism and events here in the city of Imatra, and I was asked here to speak a little bit about what Imatra as a city has to offer for all AV productions if you happen to come and do a little bit something here. But
we're solving the problem.
The problem is being solved.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am really enthusiastic about being here, and I can't appreciate Kamran's and Katri's hard work for these festivals that they arrange here in the city of Imatra. In my past, I have produced a movie festival, a film festival for 10 years myself, so cinema and film is really close to my heart, and I'm so happy that we have our own festival now here in Imatra. But while we're solving this problem, I will try to fill the time with my speech and find something relevant to talk to you about. The city of Imatra has a long history as a cultural and especially in event city. We have had the biggest motorcycle driving championships in road racing for more than 60 years in our city. So events and culture has been engraved to our city, and creating businesses, creating expertise in our city that is rare in all of Finland. And that of course facilitates really well into movie production, because event production and movie production kind of go in hand to hand, and the same expertise can be applied to both economics really well. So that's one of our strengths, even as we are a small city. The strengths we have in volunteers that have been working for events for tens and tens of years, or the services that we have in tourism, in facilities, in restaurants, in catering, in AV production, AV rental is way beyond our weight class. We punch above our weight class in those services. So in a matter of AV productions, many of the services that you find in our place is something that you usually found in much larger cities. For instance, we have over 4,500 bed spaces in the region of Imatra in a 10-kilometer radius. That is rivaling the city of Tampere in bed spaces. So you can kind of get the idea of how we can service even big productions easily. And of course there is history of being productions that we have. Hey! Give a little round of applause for the technique. There we go. So, actually I was perfectly timing myself. So we have actually had multiple productions that we have had here in the city of Imatra. There is just a small sampling of productions that has been done here in the city of Imatra. As you can see, we have international big productions, small documentaries, series. For instance, Sorjonen, that was mainly produced in the city of Lappeenranta, but they used the city of Imatra for many landscape and especially nature shots. And has anybody seen Sorjonen? It's international, it's on Netflix and stuff like that. Yeah, somebody? There was an excellent actor in all of the 4 seasons that if you paid a close eye to the series, you might have seen a really good actor there. But yeah, and for instance, the documentary Järven tarina, there's one of the most prolific scenes in that documentary that was shot underwater, and it shows the living of lake crabs in the river of Vuoksi that was shot here, and it's if you have seen the documentary, that is probably the one scene that really stuck to the mind. But yeah, that was just a sampling that we have already had multiple different kind of productions visiting our city. And then a little bit of our locations that we have as a strength. The South Karelia region is of course the first best locations we have is our nature. As Kamran already mentioned in his speech, that we have unparalleled nature here. You could also almost say that we have the multitude of Finnish nature in a miniature size. You can find all the distinct features of Finnish nature in the Imatra region. We have 4 distinct seasons. We have a proper winter, we have a proper summer, proper fall, and a proper spring. So if you need those kind of nature settings, this is the region you can come to. Also, we store about 10 cubic tons of snow for our ski track, so if you need snow quickly we can arrange that too, but there would be a difficult negotiations because we have other uses of that snow. But that is of course our major strength. Amazing nature locations, easily accessible and really close by to all of our tourism attractions and tourist services, so you don't need to travel long distances to find completely unique nature locations. In addition to those beautiful nature locations, we have, rustic locations. We are also an industrial city, so we have big industrial complexes where you can find, like in that picture, that's from our steel mill Ovako. For example, there's a music video that has been shot for a really big Finnish musician, was shot in the steel mill. But also we have, as unfortunately all the businesses in the city of Imatra hasn't been kind, we have some abandoned buildings that again are really easily accessible and easily usable for any kind of AV productions. We are in negotiations with a small film company that they would come here to shoot a post-apocalyptic horror movie because of what would be a better setting for that kind of a movie than that kind of building. And of course, we are the birthplace of Finnish tourism, that our great rapids, the Imatra Rapids, was the first tourism attraction in all of Finland. Catherine Great announced it in the history, and of course, because of that, we have a lot of history. We have a lot of historic locations. So if you are looking for that kind of real historical feel, we have a plentiful of locations to do that too. And in addition to, unfortunately, a bit dark picture, we have the most beautiful building in Finland. It has been voted 5 times to be that, and it's our State Hotel, Imatra Valtiohotelli, only castle hotel in all the Nordic countries, and it is a truly beautiful castle building hotel. So if you want to find the most beautiful building in whole Finland, we have it, and we have the papers to back that up. But that's a bit about the locations, and at this point, as we are in South Karelia, we South Karelians like to talk and talk and talk. If anybody has any questions at any point, please raise your hand and I can try to answer them so this doesn't turn into a monologue. But moving on, this is where I kind of like alluded in my opening statements before we got the technical difficulties out. We do benefit from our tourism infrastructure. We have been one of the major tourism cities in all Finland for a long, long time, and of course it is our biggest income in the region. So all the services, all the businesses are still here, and they are easily accustomed to cater all kinds of businesses. So as AV production companies they need pretty much all the same services as tourists need. So we can easily facilitate, like I said, big productions, small productions, and we have been creating a lot of businesses that host the tourists, which can be also applicable to productions. We have volunteers, we have guides, we have catering companies, AV companies, a lot of that businesses that can be easily used by any kind of AV productions. And also decades of experience for these companies. So you don't have to teach them anything, they know how to do their job. So these are what I would say are strong points regarding that. If you decide to bring your production here, what we can offer for you. But then if we go directly to what can the city offer, we as a city operator can offer for you. Of course we have guidance and information, and we can connect you with the right people. As a region, we do not yet have incentive programs for productions or shots, but those are in the works. So maybe in the future we will have similar things. We have this talkoolaispankki, which means volunteers that participate in events or similar things that you can just ask that, hey, we have this thing, we have a production, we need 10 people, volunteers to do this and this. And we have this bank where we can send this request, and there is approximately 200 people at this time that respond to these kind of requests and will take part as volunteers to help events, productions, whatever the needs are. We have done, even though we don't have that kind of incentive productions, we have done paid marketing agreements with separate films and productions in the past. For instance, at the moment, a movie in production about the legendary Finnish sniper Simo Häyhä is in the works, and we do have a marketing agreement with that movie production, as part of it will be filmed here in Imatra. And of course, if you're looking for brilliant actors, you can find them here also. But yeah, that was in a nutshell what we can, as a city of Imatra, offer for you. Great locations, great expertise, great people, and even a little bit of money, if we can come to an agreement. But I can promise you, if you come here, you don't have hard time finding people being enthusiastic about your production, and a lot of help will be guaranteed. And we're, as the South Karelians, we are known for our hospitality, so you will feel welcomed here if you come here. And now, any questions? Please, one at a time. If not, I will say my thanks, and back to Ipe.
So thank you very much, Panu. That was an interesting talk. And if you have something to ask and maybe have an idea about, you can also contact Panu. His information can be found from internet, right?
That's the place.
That is the place. Okay, so the program continues, and the next speaker is Jussi Konttinen, a journalist from Finland, and he'll be talking about cinema, politics, and the truth. Is contemporary cinema art or a tool for influencing? So let's give a warm welcome to Jussi. Maybe it's just slow. Okay, Jussi.
Thank you. So I'm not a film specialist. Sorry for that. I'm a journalist in the biggest daily newspaper in Finland called Helsingin Sanomat. And maybe I'm not going to speak not only under the theme I was given. I will speak more about my experience in Ukraine and about films on Ukraine war. Also a little bit about propaganda. I have been to Ukraine during the full-scale war 10 times, covering it for my newspaper. Unfortunately, the last time was already a year ago when I spent 1 month in Kiev. And Ukraine war is equally interesting for journalists and filmmakers, but I think there are some similarities and differences in our work. What is similar, you have to have military accreditation to work there. Probably you use fixers, local professionals to help you. We use them always, even I know Russian and Ukrainian language. If you cover the front line, you have to be embedded, so that means you are accompanied by soldiers, a press officer or some other soldiers. So the work is not fully free, but it's also a question of your security. And about security, you always have to check the situation because it's every time changing. Where was safe a month ago can be totally different now. And well, the overall situation is now that there are less journalists and less foreign film crews in Ukraine. The war has been going on for more than 4 years, and unfortunately the interest has been falling. And also a couple of words about Ukrainian film industry. So basically, it doesn't concern only film industry, but nowadays Ukrainians, in their free time, they don't want to hear about the war so much. So the stand-up shows are very popular and all kind of entertainment. Some people want some positive feelings, and if you see the films they are making, there are lots of comedies, and there was even science fiction comedy which was internationally distributed. It's called You Are the Universe, and there was a war film with zombies. When they make documentaries, often they show, I wouldn't say it's propaganda, but they show soldiers as heroes and survivors. So there was a film about a war invalid climbing to Kilimanjaro, showing how he can go on with his life. Okay, but I wanted to speak a little bit more about 3 films. Actually, some people say it's easier to tell about the war through fiction films than documentaries. But there are some remarkable documentaries, and a couple of words about them and their relation to propaganda, maybe. So probably many of you have seen 20 Days in Mariupol, which was made by director Mstislav Chernov in the first month of the war, during the encirclement of Mariupol city. And that's the situation. Like we as journalists, like of course there are some hothead freelance photographers who go to the trenches and to the first line, or at least try it. But usually when we go even to the front line, First it was maybe 4 kilometers from the front, then it came 10 kilometers, and now it has to be more like when our last crew was to Kramatorsk in January, and it was 20 kilometers from the front line. They were chased by a Russian drone there, so it has really changed to more dangerous. And Mstislav Chernov and his pal Yevhen Malolietka, they were working for AP news agency in Mariupol, and they stayed there when everyone else left. So the documentary has some kind of exceptional access to the events, and it has this very gloomy mood. Russians are getting closer, and it tells mostly about the horrors for the civilians in a ruining city, where people live in basements and doctors are trying to save children's life. But it also discusses some delicate things with the people in quite open way. It asks who is to be blamed, and sometimes you get very surprising answers. One man in the bomb shelter thinks that Ukraine is shelling the town. What is the attitude of people in this film towards the crew? Usually is very same I have experienced in Ukraine. Many people say "sнимайте." It means shoot it, make your picture, and they want to tell their story. They want the world to know about the situation there, and that's also my personal experience. It was most clear in the beginning of the war, but I think still Ukrainians are quite open to speak out, and in that sense it's a nice environment to make journalism or film. Yeah. and Chernov has also been accused of propaganda, but mostly by Russian propagandists themselves, and they have a very clever trick here. They show some footage of official Russian representative saying that the material, they are sending all the time the material from Mariupol to the AP when they have some satellite connections, and the world is watching this material because it's the only material you get out from the encircled city. And the Russian foreign minister and his aide, Maria Zakharova, they are saying, oh, it's all fake. And that they are propagandists. And in the end, after 20 days, the film crew is evacuated from the city, and they have mixed feelings because the people are staying there, at least part of them, but they are leaving and get to the Ukrainian controlled territory. That overlaps with my work. I was in the city of Zaporizhia, which is not some maybe 50 kilometers from there, and I was receiving, we were seeing that people arriving through the human corridor from Mariupol, all these shocked people. It was a grandmother and her grandchildren, and first I thought the child had mental shock, but actually it was physical, so they have drove into a landmine and she was injured. And that's of course always a very delicate line, even if they were also open to speak out, but sometimes you have to think, are the people really fit to speak? Are they too traumatized? What is ethical? Chernov's next film was 2,000 meters to Andreevka. It was shot 2023 during the Ukrainian counter-attack, which eventually failed. And it pictures a group of soldiers trying to reach and conquer back a little village called Andreevka. It's 2,000 meters there. They have to go along a little piece of tree line between huge fields. Very typical Ukrainian landscape. And they are going from trench to trench, by meter to meter, and fighting all the time. So it's very kind of contact battle. Even they are seeing Russians eye to eye, and many of them are dying. And but the war is different than it's now. Now it wouldn't be possible to advance in that way. There are drones, but not so many. There's more artillery. When you look this film, it's not propaganda, but maybe you should keep in mind that it's not an ordinary unit, but it's a third assault brigade, which split from the Azov brigade, and historically, and it's one of the elite troops in Ukraine. So all the soldiers you see here are really motivated, and they are clever and fit, and most of them volunteer there. There's of course lots of other kind of units in Ukrainian regular army. And And it seems to be still very honest film for me. It shows the failure of the counterattack. And in the end, the climax of the film is when the soldiers liberate this ruined village. There's no inhabitants there, no even an intact house, and one of them is putting the Ukrainian flag there, and that's it. And he thinks in a couple of years it will be built again, but that's probably not going to happen. And actually Russia takes the village back. And Chernov comments in the end of film, the longer this goes on, the less world will care. And it's sad, but probably true. And it's also very exceptional access what Chernov has here in the battle line, but not all of the scenes are shot by himself, but they also use the material from the helmet cameras of the soldiers. So it has very authentic feeling. Okay, so my last example is from the Russian side. So I also covered, this is me during the counterattack, or it was in the beginning, in the Zaporizhzhia region, a little town, 2 kilometers to the Russians, still civilians there sitting in the bomb shelter of the school. Just in the beginning of the war, I was following the Russian invasion from the Russian side. It was still possible. It's near Belgorod, and we saw how the tanks were driving towards Kharkiv, how they were shelling rockets, Uragan rockets there just in a row. Afterwards, it became practically impossible for foreign journalists to cover the war from the Russian side of the front line. Of course, some propagandists have been able to go there, but obviously they cannot tell everything. But there's an interesting documentary called Russians at War. It was released last year by a Russian emigre director, Anastasia Trofimova, who lives in Canada, and she joined the Russian unit for 9 months, and it's an exceptional access to me, because he gets very close to these very ordinary Russian guys who are there, either sent there or had gone there with money to get money. And she didn't have any official permission from the Russian defense ministry for this, so he just agreed about that with the guys in the unit. And this documentary has been accused to be propaganda, mostly by Ukrainians, and I think the reason is that it shows the Russian soldiers as humans. It's totally understandable that Ukrainians don't want to see Russian invaders as humans right now, but I don't think it's propaganda. It's really brings out the motivation of these guys and the absurdity of wars. And someone tells that he's there because of the money, and some says something about patriotism, and immediately the other guys say that no, that's not true. And one man regrets that he watched TV because that he started to believe this propaganda, and when he came there he understood it's not at all like in the TV. And the film shows losses, it shows how the people are sent to the meat grinder, total newcomers to the war, and it really discusses the doubts about what they have about the war, and there's a female medic who says that she doesn't know what to tell her grandmother, children about this shit. Probably she will not tell anything, and in the end of the film she gets pregnant in the front. And it also contains some very funny scenes. Russian soldier giving interview with a cigarette in his mouth. It's I've seen nothing like that. And I'm also surprised how much they are drinking in the front lines. And there's a drunken dance of the Russian orcs. For a journalist perspective, documentary offers a deeper insight in the war because the longest time spent at the site with the people and perhaps better access. And for me, these documentaries were definitely not propaganda. They didn't uncover for me so many new facts I would know, but they really vividly brings out the daily deadly routine of the war. And also no film tells the truth. These films will stay and tell the story. And that's my message in the end for you filmmakers, also in the conflict areas. Продолжайте снимать, keep on shooting. I don't know if there's time for questions, but otherwise we can go on. Maybe one. Okay.
What would you like the Finnish audience to know? Obviously, the time has passed, there have been many news, but yourself as a journalist, what would you like the Finnish audience to know about this?
About the war?
Yeah.
Well, there are so many things, but for me, of course, the thing we know least is the life in the occupied territories by Russia, but it's very hard to get anything neutral from there, but maybe some eyewitness stories, or maybe some brave documentarist will go there and on her own risk and tell the truth, I hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Jussi, very much. It was a hard topic, but we need to speak about hard things also. But then we are going forward with our program. And next, I would like to welcome to the stage Mr. Ayman Alhussein, a filmmaker from UK. Let's give him some applause, please.
Anyways, it's not gonna work. Can you see? What's annoying about this? You're gonna see the next slides. Try not to look on the left. So my name is Ayman. I come from the UK, but I'm actually from Syria. Anyone knows where Syria is on the map? Raise your hand. Oh, quite a few people, not bad. So I am many things. I don't know how to describe myself. But you can call me a filmmaker. I didn't grow up wanting to be a filmmaker, which you would find interesting. You'd be like, why are you here? Well, becoming a filmmaker for me was kind of a necessity rather than a desire. I've actually wanted to become a doctor growing up. But yeah, that didn't happen. You may know why, because in Syria things went to, can I use language? Do you have children? Things went to shit. So things were really bad. And obviously a lot of people left Syria, and I was one of those people who left Syria in 2012. And I actually went to Turkey and studied something called dental prosthetics. I bet not many people know what that is. So I did that and didn't do anything with it. Eventually I had to leave Turkey and put myself on a boat and made a dangerous journey. Oops. Dangerous journey. All the way through Europe. But one thing where that's what led into me thinking about telling stories, because the stories I was hearing about people like me from Syria were not really the kind of authentic or real stories you would see. So it got me thinking, I was like, why are there so many people telling stories about refugees and migrants in a very, very bad way? And obviously that is not everyone, but the majority of the media and the news and the films telling stories about refugees were quite bad. So I decided to document my own journey on an iPhone, you know, and in the hope that I could tell a story when I reach my destination. If you wonder what I do now, so I consult and I co-write films, and I also work as a cinematographer. Besides that, I give lectures on immigration in the UK and worldwide. I was in a place in France called Calais. Anyone heard of Calais in France? It was all over the news. There was a refugee camp called the Jungle. Weird name for a refugee camp. And these are two images of a documentary that was made about me. It was a short documentary made by a film crew that came from the UK. So if I met them there, this is the film. I met the film crew in Calais and they said, can you tell your story? And I was like, well, I've got my own videos and footage that we can put together and make a documentary. And they actually used my footage. And that was my first time sort of telling a story, even before reaching safety. Because as you may know, like in Calais I was absolutely not safe. We were being attacked by the police and the fascists pretty much on a daily basis. And then I made it to the UK in 2017 and started, well, I wasn't allowed to work for 2 years, considering the UK has a terrible asylum system. So whilst you are an asylum seeker, that you have to live on £5, like €6 a day, and that will have to cover everything, apart from accommodation. So that's what I had to live on, and I wasn't allowed to work, so all I had to do was, all I could do is just learn. So I did a lot of work experience. I worked for the BBC, I worked for production companies, completely like free, with no pay, for about 2 years, until I got the right to work and live in the UK. And that's when I started actually professionally working and making money. And in fact, in my first month when I was allowed to work, I made like €5,000. And then COVID. Don't need to tell you more. So, we don't have much time, so I'm going to tell you about the films that I worked on very quickly. And we're going to talk about the importance, and that's why I'm a filmmaker now, is that I want people to tell authentic stories rather than like stories, and the importance of authenticity in telling stories about people with lived experiences, and how important it is to have people with lived experience working on your project. Whether if it's like a refugee or like, you know, a homeless person or someone who's suffered from a certain illness or like anything. Without people with lived experience in your story, you don't really have an authentic story. And that's the key success to any story you would want to tell. So this is the first film I worked on. It was a short film. I was a co-writer and I had a small role in the film as an actor where I was swearing in French at a police officer. And I don't want to do that now. But my role on that was to make sure the story was told authentically in the lens, because the story goes about a truck driver who's driving through Cali going to the UK, and he meets this refugee, and they're both bisexual, and they have like this sort of connection, but it wasn't a pleasant connection. And my role was to make sure that the conditions of that location and how people moved around and what happens was authentic. So that was the first film. The second film, and the biggest project I've ever worked on, is a movie called The Swimmers. Anyone watched it?
Yeah.
On Netflix. This is by far the biggest project I worked on. It was about two Syrian sisters who left Syria and moved to Germany, and it's a real story, real life story. My role was to make sure that people were authentic in terms of like not just one department, all the departments, like costumes, makeup, locations, accent, language, everything. These are some BTS. We were literally on the sea, so it wasn't easy for me being on a boat again, but we did it. And then throughout that, I worked as in the edit room to make sure everything is edited properly. And then when I moved to the UK, I've seen a lot of people. Do you know what modern slavery is? If you know, raise your hand. Modern slavery, when you are forced to work because you have no options, where the minimum salary, let's say 10 euros an hour, and you're being paid 2 euros an hour. This is what you call modern slavery. This is a film about people I've met personally who lived in the UK, and this is a guy who works as a delivery cyclist, you know, like Uber Eats, I don't know if you have it in Finland, using someone else's account. So really, we had people with lived experience in the film as actors, without identifying them, who eventually had the right to work. And this is, we had an article in the Telegraph that talks about our film in a bad way, because apparently we were trying to change the narrative, but the reality is it's just authenticity. And the character in the film wasn't really made to look like an angel. You know, he was breaking the law working illegally, but he had no choice. It's just showing a human story. And then we have Rule Britannia, which you're going to see on the 15th. Is about the current situation in the UK and where it could go if it keeps going like that. Because politically, we have a lot of misinformation going around in the world, but there's not much to counter that. Where like you have a lot of misinformation saying migration is bad, refugees are bad, but there aren't people on the other side telling the actual real stories. So my, message to you, if you ever want to make a film, is that you need to have people with lived experience. So in Rule Britannia, we had people who actually made the journey before, and we also had people who were like part of the far right. So I don't want to ruin the film for you, but to have a full comprehensive story, you need to have people from all the sides involved in that story to tell an authentic story. I only have 2 minutes left, so I'm going to take questions. Anyone has questions? No? Yes.
So could you please elaborate on authenticity or authenticity? What do you mean by that? Like, you know, quite secret word, and I'm just curious what's your technique?
So, let's say you want to make, this is Mata, right? Let's say you want to make a film about a delivery cyclist who delivers food. So if you don't do, you know, a lot, what we see nowadays is a lot of people go do research, read a lot of articles, go interview people for like an hour and two, and then call it a day and be like, okay, we have insight about this topic. In my opinion, that is never enough. And if you look at, like, for example, American cinema, when they talk about, like, for example, the Middle East, every time you see scenes from the Middle East, say like Syria or whatever, it's never authentic. Like, even the language that people talk, there's like, for a person who speak Arabic, it's not Arabic. And they're always portrayed to look like terrorists, well, like, in reality, there's like maybe 1 in 10,000 is a terrorist, or like 1 million or whatever. So it's never authentic. So for me to tell a story about a delivery cyclist, I had to go and work as a delivery cyclist for like a year. And that's how I met these people. And it wasn't enough that I went and interviewed them, I went and hired them. I brought them on the project. Some were like acting in the film, and some were like involved in the writing process. What does that get you? Gets you award-winning films, you know, and that's, especially if you're talking about social issues, so like, ignore refugees or anything that is a social issue. I think you need to give it justice by making sure you are really involved in the people involved in that story, and that's a win-win for everyone. Any other questions? No?
I have a question.
Yeah, go on.
It's a bit weird question.
Of course.
How do you convince Ahmed Malik to do the movie while he's saying that he's not so interested in international movies and he's such a big star in
just for
our
context,
community?
she's from Egypt, and Ahmed Malik was also on the movie The Swimmers. So that's how I met him. He's actually a massive actor in Egypt. He's like one of the top actors. And we convinced him because it was an original story, and he really cares about, you know, he worked on The Swimmers not just because, you know, it's a big movie, but he also cares about migration and telling authentic stories. And that's one of the things as well. If you're really telling a good story, where like it's authentic, you're more likely to get good actors on board, you're more likely to get funding. You know, for Mata, it's a short film. It was only 20 minutes. But we got £100,000 funding. And that was so quick. It was like the first people we went to, they gave us 100,000. Same goes for Rule Britannia. So like, making your story authentic doesn't just mean it's a better story. You're more likely to get funding because it's a good story if you do it that way. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for a fantastic presentation about an important topic also. Okay, we move forward, and next presentation is being held by Mr. Rafig Hajiyev, director from Azerbaijan. So, your present, please come here. And let's give an applause to him.
Hello everyone. My name is Rafig Hajiyev. I'm a producer and director from Azerbaijan. And I have participated in this Saimaa Film Festival, and I think you will enjoy to watch my movie tomorrow with other Azerbaijan movies. It's called From Oil with Love. And today I would like to tell a little about Azerbaijan cinema, about its history and its future. Well, Azerbaijan is a country with an ancient, rich culture and warm, hospitable people. For centuries, our people have created legends, stories, poetry, music, literature, paintings, and beautiful carvings. The history of Azerbaijan cinema began very early. As you know, the Lumiere brothers had the first public film screen in Paris in December 1895. And just 3 years later, in 1898, cinematographer Alexander Michel was already making a short film in Paris, many short films. This made Azerbaijan one of the first countries in the world where cinema was born. Some of the early subjects in Azerbaijan cinema were oil and everyday life in Baku, Alexander Michel film, an oil culture in Balakhani, a fire at the Uyeybat oil fields, people in the city parks, and traditional Caucasian dance. Our cinema told stories about ordinary people, their love, their families, their dignity, their traditions, and the changes taking place in society. It also preserved our language, music, national character, and unique sense of the humor. However, the history of our country has not been easy. Wars, conflicts, and political upheavals took a great deal away from us. Our cinema also suffered during those difficult times, and many projects were never completed. But even during the most difficult times, we didn't stop. We continued to believe in ourselves, in our values, and in the stories we wanted to tell. Today we're gradually building our strength. A new generation of talented artists is emerging. Independent filmmakers are now creating new projects, new stories, receiving support from our Minister of Culture and presenting our culture values in the audience around the world. Finally, I would like again to thank the organizer of the Saimaa Film Festival, Kemal Shahmardan, and thank you for the invitation, warm hospitality, and the opportunity to share Azerbaijan films with the participants of this festival and all around the world. And again, I hope you will love and enjoy to watching our films, to watch my film and other Azerbaijan films tomorrow. And if you have any questions, then thank you for your attention.
So any questions?
Okay. Okay, so, and thank you.
Can you tell a little bit about your film?
Well, my film is genre is drama and a little bit sci-fi. It's a story about the shepherd who lost his daughter, and he believed that she was taken by aliens, but he wanted to back her, and he started to send signals to the space, but finally something strange happens, and you will know what happens tomorrow when you watch the film. Okay? Yeah. It's called From Orion with Love. Yeah, that's it. Again, big thanks to Kemal Shahmardan and all team of the Saimaa Film Festival.
So any other questions? Okay. Then let's give applause.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rafig. And again, we are a bit ahead of a schedule. So next speaker is going to be Michel Cordey, director from Canada. Are you ready?
Yes.
Great. And he'll be talking about cultural differences between Quebec and Canadian cinema. Okay.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I would like to say thank you to the organization of this festival for the invitation. I think it really is a privilege to be here. It was a long travel, three flights and one train, but it was worth every minute so far, and I'm very happy to be here with you. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the differences between French Canadian cinema and English Canadian cinema, because for me to talk about Canadian cinema, it's like it's a paradox because the country really is separated into two different cultures, and I come from the French part, and if you talk about Canadian cinema, to me it's a completely different thing than what I do. So I want to explain a little bit about that, and then I want to talk about my life as an artist living with a disability. I think it was very interesting to listen about social issues in films earlier, because I think it's a very good debate to have. How far should you go for authenticity? I thought it was very interesting what Ayman said earlier, and I'm kind of in the middle of that right now, because I myself am an actor in a TV show in Canada, because I'm a disabled artist. They chose me because of that, and I'm very happy that they chose me, but it's always a bit of a struggle, because I don't want my life to be just about that, but I know that they chose me because of that. So I think it's a very interesting subject matter. But first, a little more about the Canadian cinema and the paradox that it's not one bilingual cinema. It's two distinct cinemas and not one bilingual thing. Quebec has a very strong author cinema in continuity with the French New Wave. It has its own domestic market that sustains a very large box office, where English Canada is very more fragmented and more closer to the US. And if you want to make a film in French, or if you want to make a film in English in Canada, it's two very different things. Because French is a very small market, 7 to 8 million people, and we produce about 40% of all the films. I would say that in Canada every year there's about 100 features made, and of those 100 features, about 40 are from Quebec. So we are very strong in that matter, and the local production in Montreal is affected by both US productions coming, but also from the local production. The gross domestic product from American production in Montreal every year is about $2 billion, which is, let's say, 1 billion euro maybe, and local production is half of that. For all French content. So it's a very big local industry. So we have developed crews that can work on very small independent author project, but also on big American films. So we really do both. And in the 1960s, that's when really our identity as Quebecer came up through what we call the event of there was a revolution that we call the Quiet Revolution, because it was not violent or anything, but it was more of separation from the state with the Catholic Church. And Quebecers really took their identities in charge and separated their identities from the rest of the country at that time. And there is still a very strong independent movement in Quebec. And in 1939, the NFB, the National Film Board, was founded with mandate to show Canadian to Canadians, but very quickly it separated also into French and English part. And now the NFB is really more specialized into animation and documentaries. So if you want to work in those movies, you go work with them. As for fiction, it's more of a traditional way. Of course, we have very good examples of directors that had made their ways into international film festivals a little bit everywhere. The most famous Quebec director right now is, of course, Denis Villeneuve. And everyone is very, very excited that someone from Quebec is going to direct the next James Bond movie. We don't really understand what is going on right now. It's just crazy. But we're all very proud. And all those filmmakers from Quebec that raise into international festivals have at least one thing in common, is that they started as small independent filmmakers. And they developed their careers through independent cinema and made their ways into commercial success after that. And excuse me, I'm lost in my notes right now. Yes, just wanted to say about the contrast and the themes that are in the movies. The language and the orality is very central in Quebec movies, where in Canadian movies you will find more of a surrealist tradition in the subjects. It's less thematized in English than it is. It's less thematized and colder, more observational in English than it is in French. I talked already about Montreal a little bit. Yes, just a big small note on co-productions. If you ever want to consider a co-production with Canada, Canada has agreements with 59 partner countries for co-productions, and Finland is one of them. So if you ever want to consider Canadian partnership in your country, go to Téléfilm Canada's website and you will have all the information. And a little bit more about me. I studied filmmaking at the National Institute of Image and Sound, LINIS, in Montreal back in 2008. And after I studied filmmaking, I worked mostly as a film editor in TV and in cinema for about 10 years, because the way I thought I would make it in this industry, because I'm not in very good physical shape to work on movie sets, was I'm going to work as an editor first. And the consequences of that were that people thought of me as an editor rather than a director. So I was stuck in the editor role for a very, very long time. And 4 years ago, my life completely changed when I was asked to audition for a TV series that airs on the 2 national TV channels. And the series has been going on for 4 years now. And that's where I met my new family of teammates and crew members and actors that I work with today. And among them are some very big names in the local artistic community. So when we started filming season 2 of the series, I spoke with our director of photography, Jan. He came to me and he said, because he knows I want to direct more, and I'm stuck with this image that I can't really film movies even if I'm in a wheelchair, so I have to fight that. So he came to me and he said, Michel, if you want to make a short this winter, I'm free in February and March, so we could do a film. He told me that it was December 1st, and I had no script. So I worked very hard and very quickly, and half of my cast and crew on my short that will be screened next Saturday are also members of the TV show that I'm working on right now. So my hope is that this is going to increase the visibility with festival screenings around the world and help me direct more. I'm already working on the next project. There was one last thing I wanted to say, but I can't quite remember what exactly. Do you have any questions so far? Yes?
The question about the market in Quebec, from your observations.
For marketing?
Market in Quebec, like
yes.
Audience. What do people want to see? What kind of movies or topics they want to see about movies?
That's a very good question. What do people want to see? there is a big fight between commercial cinema and independent cinema because, of course, most cinemas are screening American films, and when a Quebec film comes into the top at the box office, it's quite a miracle every time it happens. So to attract audiences in the cinemas, we have some sort of very local commercial movies that try to counterbalance for the independent side of the cinema industry. So we have both, and both are always fighting each other in funding, because people making independent movies want more money, but then other people making commercial movies are saying, well, nobody goes to independent movies and we're trying to fight the Americans, so give us the money instead. So summer movies are more about comedies, and then fall and winter are more about independent movies that go into festivals around the world. But right now the thing is, if you want to make a film in Quebec or in Canada in general, if you talk about a social issue, you have way more chances of getting funding than if you don't. And to me, that's a problem, because cinema should not be only about social issues, but it's the question that always comes right now. What is your movie about? What are you trying to tell? What are you trying to teach us from a social point of view? So in my film that you're going to see next Saturday, I try to go against that, because disabled characters in movies are used mostly as tools for an emotional purpose, and my job is to fight that, and to tell people that I can do whatever I want, and even play a bad guy if it's the case. So I don't know if that answered your question. I kind of switched tracks in the middle, but yeah. Other questions? Yeah.
Thank you for a really interesting talk. I was just wondering, do you think your work as an editor has helped your work as a director?
Of course, yes.
And do you think more filmmakers should dabble in different roles to support the thing they really want to do then?
Yes, absolutely. And I want to put the emphasis on that. The only reason I got the part when I auditioned as an actor was because I was an editor before. And I already knew the mechanics and the technical aspects, and I knew how to place myself, and I knew what a good take is and what a bad take is, and I knew how to work the eye lines with the camera. So I came with a very, very strong advantage. And I think when you sit in the editing room with the editor and understand what goes through their mind, why they choose this take instead of this other one take, that's when you understand what it takes to create a good performance. So yes, I think it had a very, very big meaning on the success, yes. Well, I hope you enjoyed this invitation, and I will be back later from the panel at the end of the day, but that's it for now. Thank you.
But next on stage we have Mr. Genki Takigawa, director and producer from Japan, and he is telling you about Japanese independent cinema and international cooperation. So let's give a warm applause to him.
Thank you very much for inviting me here at the Film Festival. Thank you very much. So it's a great honor to be able to speak with you today. Thank you for having me. So my name is Genki Takigawa. I am a movie director and producer and CEO of Studio 884 Pro, film production company based in Kyoto, Japan. So have you been to Japan or Kyoto? How many people? Oh, lot of. Yes. Kyoto is also a beautiful city like here, so an Asian city. So I have a very proud of in Kyoto. So to explain what I do today, so I first need to tell you where my company comes from. The roots of Studio 884 Pro go back to 1970 and to Kyoto's long tradition of filmmaking. So our founder, Tsuchitaro Hayashi, worked as a boom operator and recording engineer of Japanese film that are still widely known abroad. Akira Kurosawa, do you know Rashomon or Zatoichi or Long and Cat? Have you ever seen Akira Kurosawa or Zatoichi or yeah? So actually, my first generation recording engineer is starting. So the film carried the power of Japanese cinema to the audience around the world. So his son, Mototsugu Hayashi, continued that work, including film by Takashi Miike. So in 2015, he received the Agency for Cultural Affairs Film Award in the film merit category for his contribution to sound recording and re-recording in Japanese cinema. So today, we carry that heritage forward through original films, international co-production, production service in Japan, and international sales. So our roots are in the history of Japanese cinema, but what we are looking at is its international future. So where I come from. So next, let me tell you a little about where I come from as a filmmaker. It's explain the kind of work I want to make. I studied. So I studied making and producing at one university in Kyoto under Professor Yasuhiro Omori. Do you know Yasuhiro Omori? So maybe you don't know. But so Professor Omori worked as in Jean Rouge. Do you know Jean Rouge? He is a Nouvelle Vague in France, like Jean-Luc Godard or Jean Rouge, Nouvelle Vague. So Omori, Mr. Omori apprentice under Jean Rouge. So through Rouge, I learned the language of the French New Wave. So after graduating, I wanted to become a film director for real. So I apprenticed as an assistant director under Takashi Miike. So under him, I learned everything. His theory of directing and the whole craft of making films. So in Japan, if you can direct one film every 2 years, that is considered fast. During that period, Miike was directing 3 films a year. So, and I followed him on every single one. So shooting ran from early morning until late at midnight. So with no break in a very short time. So I got maybe 5 times the experience of normal assistant. So one day, Miike said to me, so if there were 5 of you, Genki, I think we could make a whole film. So that's his stayed with me. So the experience is still alive in everything I do now. So about Onigar, so tomorrow Onigar is screening in here. So let me also say something about Onigar. So which screens here tomorrow? Onigar. So Oni is usually translated as demon or evil. But in Japan, Oni is not only a demon. It also exists as a performing arts, a god of a performing art or a god of arts. So that's double meaning is film. So it's about the question, who am I? struggle between the self you want to be and the self you are not able to be. So I think that speaks to people of any generation in any situation. So, change.
Hi. Hi. Sorry about that. So, hi, nice to meet you. I'm Emma. So now I'm an international sales manager in Studio AA4. So I would like to take over here now. So now let me tell you what the Japanese film market actually looks like from the inside. These numbers may surprise you. Actually, the market is roughly 200 billion yen, about 1.2 billion euros. It has been more or less flat for several years, so treat that as an average. About half of it belongs to one company, it's Toho, like such as Godzilla, Demon Slayer, anime and IP-driven titles dominate. So, but here is the number that matters most. Japan has the population of about 100 million. Standard cinema ticket is about 2,000 yen, roughly 12 euros, and on average, each person sees about one film per year. So one film per person per year. What does that mean in practice? It means that even Japan's most internationally celebrated directors, so Ryusuke Hamaguchi, Hirokazu Kuroeda, have a hard Kuroeda.
Do you know Kuroeda or Hamaguchi? It's Japanese famous director, yeah.
Yeah, so have a hot fight at Japanese box office. So their films travel the world at home, and the theoretical numbers are difficult. That is a reality behind an industry that's produced some of the most visible cinema in the world. So how do we survive? So let me be direct. Every film we have made since Only God has recouped, including Battle Kings, all of them. How to think we narrow the target. And we don't rely on theoretical alone. Our recruitment structures combine theoricals and marginalizing streaming. So I would like to show the trailers of the Battle Kings.
おかえり、龍之介。楽しいやないか。世界に出て行こうぜ。2年ぶりだな。It's show time。竹内、行かない。喧嘩しないし、あの時に戻らない。最強最悪な暴れん坊で、ファイトクラブの創設者。自分の居場所を間違えると、辛い思いをするぞ。僕たちこそがあなたのいるべき場所。あれ抜けるわ。行くよ、龍之介。龍之介のことは諦めろ。諦めねえよ。大事な弟なんだ。龍之介を返してください。あれじゃなくてダンスを選んだだろうね。目を覚ませ。一緒に戦ってくれるバカがいた。大事な仲間なんだよ。お前らだけで背負ってんじゃねえ。お前の居場所は俺たちの場所だ。バトルキング、マップオブザマインド。俺は大事な仲間と一緒にダンスができて幸せだった。
So this film's Genki is directed and also screenwrites, and the male that in this film is all idol. It's really famous in Japan. They have a really big fan base. And the DC part that we designed the film around the defined audience. In our case, we cast male you see the films in there. Then we build events around them, correct certain numbers of ticket stubs, get exclusive merchandise, and stage greeting. We tour the country, more than 10 stage greeting in cinemas that hold 1,000 people each. That alone guarantees around 10,000 admissions. Those stage greeting screens are prices higher, which let us build a solid result in the opening week. So we do more stage greeting mid-run to keep the momentum. And the merchandise structures being in another 10 to 12 million yen. That is how we make the revenue. This is not an artistic statement, it is a strategy and it works. Next week on 21 August, my new his new films, Water Guardians, opens nationwide in Japan. Sorry, we don't have the subtitle.
海好きだし、泳ぐの得意だし。皆さんには本物のライフセーバーになっていただきます。こんなヘナチョコな連中には無理です。
皆さんは何の目的でこの講習会に来ましたか？
モテるためです。
人命救助の最前線に楽しいことがあるとでも。助けた！
今助けるから。俺らは仲間だろ。不安で半減よ。仲間は一人にして。俺はここでもあるカイド。俺は本物のライフセーバーを目指します。いけー！本物のライフセーバーになるんだろう。一番になってやる。
And also these films are male idols, which is we selected in 3 famous idol groups. And then we have the greeting events, which is really exclusive because it's really famous and popular. So, but I wanted to be honest about the success cost. There are not films built auto ships or for our next festival. I have the instance of being producer, he's being producer, writer, and director, and have the release more than 5 feature films nationwide in Japan, all from original screenplay. But in terms of hours and international reach, it has only got his directional debut and the film he made as a real bet. That has won on 3 international film festivals, including Shanghai International Film Festival and New York Film Awards, and has been sold to 20 countries. So let me speak honestly about this industry as a company, and as him as a producer. So 2 things are happening in Japanese cinema right now. First is compliance has become excessive. Many films become conscious, and conscience becomes ordinary. Second, the market is dominated by live-action adaptations of manga and anime. Popularity in manga or anime has become the standard of the judgment. A distributor don't want to make anything that isn't based on existing materials. They have lost the eyes to evaluate an original screenplay. And because of that, Japan produced around 400 films a year, and only about 5 of them reached the world. And we found that's unacceptable. This is exactly what I stopped instantly on Japanese theatrical release. Instead, international co-productions, a festival strategy for international sales. A violent film, art, house films, films that don't fit inside of the compliance structures, work that step outside the Japanese distribution systems, and that I can keep making continuously. And by counting to push on that, this year he was selected for producer networks at Small Shadow Film in Cannes, and 315 producers from around the world. Right now, he has 10 international co-production projects in development. Yeah. So this is the Rome production. The photos with them. And they get signed with the co-productions. So we're now doing like we're planning to do with the Italian productions about the soccer player. Some of them are production service, people who want to shoot in Japan. In Kyoto, other full co-pros with financing and shooting in both countries. We're genuinely excited about this. And we are very much hope we can make something together with all of you here and with the Saimaa Film Festival. So there is one project in particular for which I would like to find a partner here in Finland. So it's called Mikusame, which means meat rain in Japanese. It is a violence film. This is where what we learned under he learned under Takeshi Miike comes back. He wants to make something built on violence and actions, something that goes beyond Ichi the killer. The Finland is a country with deep heavy metal culture, I think. We think the film like that could be made with a partner from here. It's quite violent, so if you're not used to it, maybe you should. It's a trailer, actually. Maybe you should cover your eyes. It's quite a violence though, and yeah. So now thank you for let me talk about the money and briefly and the finance things. Japan has a national incentive program called IP 360, run through the Japan Art Council. Its largest tier support big production up to 1.5 billion yen, around 9 million euros. There is also dedicated support for international co-productions through the Agency for Cultural Affairs and preferential incentive on top of that. But there is one thing to remember. The application must be a Japanese production company. You cannot access these funds from outside Japan. I have the detail with us, combined as the affair words. So last things, and for us this is the most important. In Japan, business does not begin with the contract, it's begin with the trust between the people. So our company roots are in the history of the Japanese cinema, but what we are looking for at the international future, and we would like to include the people in this room. Thank you so much. If there is any gap.
Thank you for your presentation. You mentioned that out of 400 films made in Japan, only 5 make it to the international market. So I assume Only Girl is one of these 5 movies, right? Since you are here. How do you think, how to increase this number? What should happen for more Japanese movies reach international screens?
My English is not good. She translated. So I think 日本の映画は日本国内のシェアを狙う映画が多いから映画祭の受賞歴が減っているので、僕らが今やろうとしている海外で賞を取って海外のセールス出してで、何カ国上映の、セールスが成り立つっていうビジネスモデルを成立させたらもっと増えると思います。昔はそれで成立してたけど今のディストリビューターたちはその勝負の仕方をやめて日本国内シェアを取ることだけに目がいってるから海外に見えなくなってるんで、その逆を今僕らがやろうとして作ってるところが成功したら広がる準備だなと思います。
So like the Japanese productions, like the culture, they aim only the Japanese audience. So they make the film for the Japanese audience. So that's why a very less of the films go into the international festivals. But if the distributor may aim to the international, the more company aims for international things. For international will be much more increased than now.
もしよかったら僕のバトルキングとかのアイドル映画のリンクを送るんで見てほしいけど、これは日本ではリクルートメントしても多分海外に行かないっていうの分かると思います。なぜなら国内のアイドルファン向けに作ってるから。
If you may see the Battle Kings, he will send you the link actually. But this is for like the Japanese audience because the male idols popular in Japan. So it would not get the audience in international. It's for Japanese inside of the Japanese. So yeah, it's really inside.
Okay. All right. Let's give an applause. So thank you very much, Genki and Emma.
So I want to present and assist a little bit with the translation today, Boris Litovchenko.
Hello.
Yes, and we will be talking about the Uzbek cinema and the status of women in Uzbekistan. Today later at 6 p.m. you will have a chance to see the amazing movie that we're very excited for named Cotton. And Boris is the present cinematographer and the operator who was taking part and making a great impact of this movie. And we're here to just talk a little bit about the movie before you have a chance to see it, and then maybe you can have time to reflect on what Boris have told and just match the picture what you see with this talk right now. I will assist with translation. Boris will be speaking in Russian.
Добрый день. Это, наверное, легкое вступление. Я, наверное, мало имею права говорить про узбекских женщин, но возродилось, потому что я очень хотел прилететь сюда с главной героиней, но, к сожалению, не получилось, чтобы она сюда прилетела. Но я, наверное, немножко поговорю о своей точке зрения, взгляде на страну Узбекистана, которая наверняка мало кто что-то знает. Я думаю, что для многих сегодня увидят первый узбекский фильм, который они смотрели. Надеюсь, это попадет в ваше сердце.
So Boris is saying that from his perspective, he has not a lot to say about the status of Uzbek women in Uzbekistan because initially the plan was to come here with the lead actress. What is her name?
Khurshida.
So that was idea to invite her and talk a little bit about her position and her role in the film as well. But Boris will introduce a little bit more of his perspective, of his ideas about the Uzbek cinema in general, because probably for you it will be the first time seeing well, maybe not for all, but for many, the first Uzbek film, just in general.
Я живу в Узбекистане 5 лет.
Я эмигрировал из-за ужасной войны, которая началась 4 года назад. Для меня этот фильм это государственная картина. Меня на нее пригласил узбекский режиссер Рашид Маликов, любимый мной теперь. Для меня эта картина была погружение в мир простых людей Узбекистана, потому что он сильно отличается от той картинки, которую мы видим всегда, когда приезжаем в страну.
Boris has immigrated to Uzbekistan 5 years ago. Now he lives and works in Uzbekistan, and the reason of immigration was the horrible war that is happening already for 5 years. This picture that we're gonna see today, this title is a state title that was the in-depth understanding of Uzbek culture and understanding of life, how simple Uzbek people are living in there. So it's created by the director Rashid Malikov, who Boris enjoys working now, and yes, it's his favorite director right now in Uzbekistan.
Немножко расскажу про Узбекистан. Наверное, это важно даже в разрезе искусства узбекского. Там сейчас живет 38 миллионов людей, и каждый год у нас прирост населения в районе 800-900 тысяч. То есть мы за последние 10 лет сделали столько же детей, сколько живет в Финляндии.
A little bit about Uzbekistan in general. There is 38 million people living in Uzbekistan, and this is the demographics rapidly increase in Uzbekistan. And in last how many years? Сколько последних лет? In last 10 years, there were more children born, or like almost the same amount of children born than people in general in Finland, because yearly there is 800,000 people increasing demographically in Uzbekistan.
И судьба женщин довольно сильно определяется от этой цифры. Прекрасно понятно, кто занимается этими детьми. И женщина там, это мусульманская страна, и женщины довольно несчастны от тех традиций, которые сейчас пришли в это время. Это мое личное мнение, я ни в коем случае не могу это обсуждать и осуждать, просто это обсуждаю. Но это, мне кажется, со стороны, это довольно большая странность в современном мире, что женщины там сделаны для того, чтобы рожать, кормить и поить и убирать. Это, к сожалению, есть. Все меняется очень сильно, но сейчас, как только ты выезжаешь из столицы, ты видишь, что вот такая действительность.
So it's understandable who's taking care, who's feeding and raising children in the Uzbekistan, which is a Muslim country. And the state position of women in this country is, in Boris' personal view, he's made a disclaimer that it's only his opinion and his understanding during living this 5 years in Uzbekistan, that the position of women is quite unhappy and quite, not miserable, but still changing. And just being a woman in a Muslim country is just something that needs improvement still, and it's just an unhappy sight for Boris to understand and see how, and very weird in the modern society to see how women are taking care of so many children in the growing country. Maybe you have some questions just to help feed the discussion and maybe add some value to that conversation?
Yes. What's the story of the film?
Yeah, maybe you can tell a little bit about the film in general, because the audience will still...
Ну, это странно, может быть, просто люди посмотрят фильм потом.
В двух словах.
Это история одна из тысячи. Это исторический фильм, который я думал, что невозможен в современной реальности. Но это фильм обычной несчастной женщины, которая находится под давлением традиций. Когда я снимал его как исторически, я думал, что это невозможно сейчас, но когда я начал изучать фактуру, мне стало понятно, что, к сожалению, это возможно и сейчас, и это так все и продолжается.
So the story is just one of a million stories of a simple woman living in Uzbekistan who is under the pressure of traditions, and it was just dive in for Boris to understand how, as he's saying, he's still learning how Uzbekistan and how the country and women in this country live and well, prosper, let's say so, or not prosper, but it's just a simple one of the million stories that you will just see. That's why this topic is like Uzbekistan in general and women in the state, because it's just literally what the movie is talking about.
Это интересный вопрос.
I will translate the question. So, since the movie was financed by the state, is it the question that kind of worries the state and the politics in the Uzbekistan? So why this movie was financed by the country?
Да, сейчас сильно все меняется в государстве. Например, пока я был в Иматре, у меня изменили мой налог. Я теперь буду платить 1% налога. Я думаю, что это удивит Финляндию, как культурный деятель.
While he was in Imatra, his situation with taxes and paying taxes has changed, and right now he will be paying just 1% of a tax, which might be a very interesting thing for Finland.
Как культурного деятеля.
Like a cultural worker or cultural, well, yeah.
И страна действительно пытается что-то с этим сделать и изменить. И я думаю, все предполагают, что через 3 года это будет мусульманская страна, в которой будет президент женщина.
So country is worried by this issue, by this question, and they are assuming that in this Muslim country that is developing very quickly, in 3 years the president of a state will be a woman.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Thank you, very interesting topic. I was wondering, connecting to the previous speech today about authenticity, how many women from Uzbekistan has been in the development of this film, and did you have help with the writing process by a woman from Uzbekistan?
Насколько большой участвовала в процессе фильма, изготовления фильма, и, может быть, кто-то помогал с написанием фильма и сюжета?
Not a lot, at least.
В связи с темой.
Я понимаю. Да, я сейчас думаю. Главная героиня.
Well, the main actress, basically, она предлагала какую-то перспективу в фильме, какую-то свою идею? Okay, she was the part of the making process.
Это хороший вопрос. Это хороший вопрос. В Узбекистане нет режиссеров девушек. Из мастодонтов нет.
There is no big or even like aspiring directors of women in Uzbekistan at this point.
Нет сценаристов практически.
And no screenwriters.
Есть писатели.
But there are writers, like the book writers, but I think that what Boris means is that there is no access to women right now to the cinema industry in general, and that's why there was no a lot of participants apart from the main actress.
Thank you.
Спасибо большое. Я хочу сказать большое спасибо организаторам. Вы великолепны. Это мой любимый фестиваль. У вас прекрасно. Я вчера перед сном смотрел, сколько стоят дома в Иматре. Просто чтобы понимать, насколько в меня прониклось это место, как ты звезда, я не понимаю, как ты все успеваешь. Ребята, вы все молодцы большие.
Boris is saying very big thank you for the festival because it's his favorite festival, and before falling asleep yesterday, he was checking how much houses in Imatra cost because he is very much inspired and getting to know this place and love to this place. So that's why he's very grateful.
Спасибо большое. Давайте поаплодируем организаторам.
Okay, thank you very much. Really good talks in here. I'm intrigued. Okay, but now we are going to the last part of this seminar, or not the last, but the last talk about things. I'm inviting here Mr. Tambet Tasuja, a film director from Estonia, and he'll be talking about the art of film editing workshop. A film editing workshop on film editing and the right rhythm of storytelling and collaboration between director and editor. So let's give a warm welcome and applause.
Hello, I'm back. I'm also been taking part a little bit because this part will be directed as the small interview, so with amazing questions made ready by Kamran, our artistic director, and maybe we start with a little introduction of Tambet.
Do you want to repeat?
I don't know, maybe you can just tell a little bit about yourself first, and then we can go to the questions.
Yes, so I have been in the film business already, I think, like almost 30 years, so this has been pretty much my life. And interestingly enough, my first profession in film business, I was director right away. So I wasn't any showrunner or something, I was just a TV director. And it was in such a small company that we didn't have an editor actually there. So I also edited my own stuff that I directed. And then at one point I realized that it's really fits so much better for me just to sit and put stuff together than be on a set and doing stuff. So that's pretty much how I delved into the editing. And now I've been basically mostly doing feature films, some TV series which is getting more and more popular. It's really hard to distinguish, I think, nowadays already like the quality of feature film and TV series because of the demand, obviously, that TV series have. And also a little bit documentary. What else? I have studied film editing in Los Angeles, almost 2 years, so I think a little bit knowledge of what goes on behind the scenes in the editing room. So in this, when I read in a program that it's going to be a workshop and in-depth, so that's maybe a little bit too big of a words, what's going to happen now in this half an hour. I hope it's going to be maybe even more like a dialogue, because I know there are lots of film professionals here also, and maybe even people from the street, if you have any questions or you want to argue with me or whatever, I think this collaboration would be much more interesting than just me having a long monologue about film editing, but yeah.
Yes, thank you very much for introduction. We have a very interesting questions about the film editing in general, because it's, I think, the main, or if not the only, film editor at this part of the panel and the seminar. So we have...
we almost have one film editor.
Well, of course, yes, but apart from Michel, who was talking a lot about more of his other things, but was also like inviting and introducing a lot of other his jobs. But maybe right now a little bit more about the editing itself and how it shapes the rhythm and the storytelling. So, Tambet, can you tell a little bit more how the film is actually created? Is it on set mainly, or in the editing room?
Definitely, not only in editing room. I mean, the film has so many different parts, and it starts from somebody needs to get an idea, and then somebody needs to put this idea on a paper, and then somebody needs to see a vision how it should be, put it on a screen, and then it's pre-preparation, and then it's shooting, and then it's editing, and sound design. So by no means I would say that editing is very, very special. but yet I think at the end of the editing period, I think the film has found pretty much like, I don't know, 80%, 90% how it's gonna be on a screen for a viewer. So I think these last months of the film getting ready on a screen, it is really crucial because the film director, who usually should have the main vision how the film should look, he's gonna spend with the editor this like 5-6 months in this dark room deciding how it's gonna turn out in a way. And it is very important because in this couple of months the decisions kind of like they are like on the two people's hands, and it kind of puts kind of lots of pressure in this process. But it is important, but not maybe the most important.
Well, yeah, I'm going to jump from the list of my questions exactly for the one that you just mentioned. So, do you think that you cannot choose which one matters most, like the director's original vision? Like, of course, it is the main thing, but is the material that actually was shot and edited in the future with the director, which one is like more important in your vision, like for the final shape of the film?
Well, of course it helps if a director has a vision. I mean, otherwise it's gonna be tough because I have worked with a lot of directors, and it's really hard when, let's say, a director is agreeing with the editor, with you, like 100% of the time. Then it's like, oh, what's going on? Like, there should be like a discussion and you are proposing ideas, obviously. But I mean, as they say, usually when the shooting has stopped, you can really throw out the script because now you have what you have in the material. So you start delving into the material, and most of the times, obviously, the vision of the director stays as it's from the beginning. But sometimes when something, I don't know, goes wrong or some new ideas emerge, the film can really change. Like, and this is something that you cannot really draw the line that it needs to be like this. And I think you can say the strong director has this quality of like saying, okay, maybe I was wrong here and maybe I should change a little bit the vision that now we're talking. The film maybe they even point what the film is talking about, maybe it can be changing. So yeah, I think it's not so rigid, I guess.
But in general, what are the mechanisms? How does editing shape the rhythm and inner reading of a film, in your perspective?
Yeah, I mean that's obviously a good one, a big one. I mean that's pretty much what we editors do to create this breathing. And for me, it has always been there's two main components in a film. It's story and emotion, and obviously the story like drives this movement further for the viewer. So he needs to be engaged. But in order for the viewer to be engaged, he has to be also emotionally involved. And these are two little bit separate things for me, because I think the viewer can grasp already nowadays much more quicker the story and the nuances of the story. So it can move further quite quickly. And I tend, as an editor, to be, when we're in a story bit, I tend to be quite quick because I know that viewer can handle it. But then there are these emotional beats. Is it in a scene or concrete areas on the scene or the end of the scenes? Then you can a little bit like linger. And then it's like really up to you and with the director always, or obviously like how much is there. There is like a thin line being a little bit stopping the story or overriding the emotion. So maybe it's getting now we're getting to this workshop area, but this is like really thin line, I think, where the great editors actually can feel it. And I tend to, I have to say, you have to feel it, it's not the mathematics, so you have to feel it when you can be quick, go with the story, and then you have to give a little bit like a breathing for the emotion, how the story reflects what's happening on the screen, on the main character, and that through that you reflect it to the viewer.
Interesting question from my point of view as well. Can editing and this work with rhythm and breathing somehow save weak dramaturgy or a poorly written scene or poorly shot scene? What is your perspective on like helping to maybe like fix mistakes with the editing?
Oh, definitely. I think I wouldn't say you can fix everything, but you can do a lot in editing. Like with a story-wise, like if there are like holes in a story, like you sometimes mostly you tend to do test screenings for the like real audience when you have like kind of approaching finishing of the editing, and when there are just the holes in a story, like viewers don't understand what's going on. So that's really like you go back to the editing room and then okay, we have this problem, so you have to figure it out. Like, and then you figure it out, hopefully, sometimes writing some additional dialogues, whatever, changing the scenes, putting back maybe some lines that you have taken out because you thought they were not important. You can really save the actors' performance. I have a couple of times, like quite many times actually, that the performance of actors have come and say like, thanks for taking up this and that. And then I remember one actress just after that premiere came to me and said like, thank you so much that you took out my stuff that I usually do on the screen. What? And then she said, you know, with the eye. And then I remember that, yeah, every time that she was like a little bit nervous or off screen, like she's doing some kind of like strange thing. And I just like, I guess subconsciously I took it out because it wasn't like part of the character or something. And she was saying like a lot of times editors, they leave it in and it's really disturbing me. So I think you can do a lot in editing actually, to save, to make it better.
Interesting. Coming back a little bit and to your words and to the question about this director's original vision and about the material that you're already editing. So about this thin line that you were saying, that if, as you said, if director is a good director and can admit that he might be wrong in some things, or some parts are open to the discussion with the editor. Where is this your creative space? For example, like editing this little twitch of an eye, is it your creative space, or is it like also something that director can like direct you to do? So can you tell a little bit about this line where you discuss with the director about your creative space, or again coming back to their vision, or like maybe original vision, or maybe to the changed vision after the shot scenes?
Yeah, first of all, I tend to be already involved in a project already in the script stage, so I usually already read the script before even the shooting, so we can really be on the same page with the director and discuss about like even scenes and lines. What is this for in the film? Does it need to be in the film? What do you want to do with this? So I think we know, in a way, pretty much on the same page when we start editing. And when you say, is there a line between like director's vision and my editor's creativity? I think there is nothing that constricts us till the very couple of weeks before the picture lock, because that needs to happen. That before that, I mean, the creativity is that kind of thing that it can go everywhere. Like, you cannot put border in a creativity. And once you start putting borders in a creativity, it's basically dead. I mean, when you have like, let's say, autocrat director who's saying like, no, don't do this, don't try that, basically it kills all the creativity. And then it's like, some directors even don't want to do test screenings for that reason, because they're so like, okay, this is my film, this is my art, and this needs to be like that. So I'm actually seeing that film, there are like hundreds of people working in it, and it's like, it's such a great collaboration in a sense that in one point, I wouldn't say we are equal like in editing, but it's like, I think it really benefits for the film if we are really like equal in edit. And I have like a rule of three times. So let's say we have like 2 weeks till the picture lock. Picture lock is somebody who's in the street maybe doesn't know the language of the film, but basically it's when the editing should end. So it's 2 weeks prior to that or something. And we are watching through the film and I still see that, okay, I tend to disagree, like we should change the take or take it out or whatever, and say like, okay, this is the first time I'm saying you. I think we should do it differently. And the director says, no, I think it should be that way. I'm saying, okay, that's good, that's your film. Because in one moment you have to like, we can go all kinds of ways. This creativity doesn't have any form. I mean, we can test this and that, but at the end, the film is gonna be like informed, so it's gonna be this hour and a half and 2 hours of something. And the director needs to be like a immune system. So basically saying, okay, this idea is good, I take it in, this idea is not according to my vision. So basically I'm just saying like, first time, second time, third time, and then I'm not touching this topic anymore because he has to make the decisions. I think that's the hardest part for the director, to being a director. You have to take the responsibility of basically all the things. My life is easy, I can just like throw out stuff and let's try this, let's try that, so yeah.
And do according what directors advises and things, but the director is the one who takes decision, and is that what you mean, yeah?
But there needs to be one captain. I mean, it doesn't make any sense if you have I call it weak directors, like, as I say, like, for me it's really disorienting, when I suggest every time, oh yeah, let's keep it like this, and it's like, okay, but it's like totally opposite, what we're just trying out things, and then I get a little bit lost, because I need to have these captains who understand that, okay, this ship goes that way, so.
But when you said that you're trying to be equal in editing, you mean equal with the directors?
Yes,
so like,
yes.
Equal roles and equal suggestions.
Till this very last stage, when you really need to somehow put it in a concrete form of the film. Till that, I think it needs to be like really ping pong and having test screenings, a lot of feedback also from a producer, etc., etc. So even if you get one great idea, you should show your film outside a little bit before you lock the edit. So, but in one moment you have to like, okay, this is of course not my film. If I want to be a director, I'm going to be a director, but I don't want to be a director. So, yeah.
Must be easy, but at the same time hard when the editor and director is only one person who has to make decisions yourself and be equal in the stage of editing and directing as a one person. So
I'm editing also your film, Michel.
What?
I also editing your films.
Yes, I also edited my films.
So
but, I take a lot of feedback. I show it a lot because I don't have. Because I need to create some space between me and the movie. Because if I'm the only one taking the decisions, it doesn't work. Yeah. So I have to test it a lot to make sure that it's going to be right.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be really hard for me to be a director and editor the same. I think there is real value, like to have somebody on your side.
Yes.
And sometimes even like working with the directors who they tend to be, how to say, more, let's say the word art house. So, and I think I'm definitely more driven, like I understand story, I understand character arcs, etc., etc. So I can really bring in this side of the story, this side of like the film. Perspective, yeah, exactly. So, and I think that wouldn't make any sense for the director sitting, basically the clone of himself sitting there. So I think this kind of like, there are no taboos. Like you can, the real value is like when you can openly talk. Like I think like this, we should try like this, and then you try out things. Till you have time.
Yeah.
And the thing is also like, I think you need to try out things that sound really stupid. Like that I have found, because this is our like creator's ego or. Editor's ego, like, oh, this is a stupid idea. We're not gonna try this thing. And then it's like, okay, whatever, let's try it. And then it's like, it's better. And that's so many times I understand, like, it's like and I think it's the same thing for the directors, I guess, just to take this input in and really try out things.
Experiment maybe in the process as well.
Exactly. So this creativity is like you never know where does it lead you. Maybe this concrete idea is bad, but from this idea comes another idea, and it's like, oh, that's very good, that's brilliant, you know. So you have to test out. But if you're just editing alone, I just feel sorry for you. It's hard, I think.
It's hard, but I do it out of necessity because.
I did it out of necessity because I didn't have much money, so that was the main reason. But as much as I make movies, I want to leave the editing to someone else, or if I have to do it, I do a lot of screen tests, because at some point you just become blind in front of your own movie. You just don't see things anymore, and you need some feedback. I have the mic, so I want to ask you a question. I wanted to have your opinion on the fact that, from my editor point of view, now directors shoot everything and decide later. Do you feel that it's a problem to have too many options when the technology allows you to film so much stuff and then push back a decision to post-production instead of taking decisions on set?
Yes and no. Let's say if there will be lots of problems in the films or material, then obviously it's really good to have lots of material to play around to fix the problems. But like, let's say 51%, I would say no, it's not a good idea, because it kind of first shows like insecurity of the director, or doesn't have a vision, or whatever. Let's just in case shoot like 5 hours of we should shoot the passing by of the trees, and then you have to find this small bit in what goes to the film, or like they shoot basically from the beginning to the end, like all the possible angles. Like, I mean, it's I would say like it shows it a bit like insecurity, but at the same time seeing that it has saved quite a lot of moments. When I say like, thank God they shot so many. So it's like so and so. I think, yeah, digital age. I mean, that's how it goes now in a way.
Actually, a good smooth continuation to the topic, because I think we have around 5 minutes left. But let's let's very quickly talk about the modern viewers and how AI also influences editing. First of all, about the modern viewers. So, does the modern viewer really need faster editing? You know, influenced by social media nowadays, TikTok, or maybe some other modern equal creative forms like short form films and other content, music videos. What do you think on that perspective?
I think it also depends on the audience. I mean, maybe for the younger audience, like they tend to already get used to this, like quicker cuts. And sometimes I have also a daughter of the 14-year-old daughter, and sometimes when we watch a film or anime or something, and it's like, I don't understand what's going on, and she's like, oh, it's so simple. So I somehow understand they have different kind of perception, how they perceive what's going through the screen. So let's say also the younger audience, they get more used to of that kind of editing. Still, I think maybe it's not even the basic of editing or how quick are the cuts. I mean, nowadays I think the stories need to have more story points, or like more things to happen in a more quick, like on a more quick in a timeline. Yeah. Because otherwise it's like it's gonna drag a little bit for the modern viewer, because they want this new information all the time. So, but I think also there are lots of viewers who actually enjoy still the kind of, let's say, old kind of
slow-paced,
more contemplative films, art house, whatever you call them. So it's both, I think.
Yes, interesting. What about the artificial intelligence? The one character that is intruding, let's say, or just entering the world of art and cinema. How is it already changing the editing profession and the process of work?
I think mostly now it's just really helping some technical stuff to do way more quicker. But when we talk about storytelling, and can AI be an editor one day? First of all, it would be really arrogant to say never. It's impossible. I think it's definitely possible, and it would be like a little bit maybe different kind of film, different kind of pacing, and so it will, maybe it's not even bad. I think.
Maybe be labeled separately as well, like human-made and AI-made, human-edited, AI-edited.
Yeah, but even if you take like two different editors, you get like possibly two different films, because like every editor perceives the material differently. So in that sense. Yes, I mean, you can teach the AI how to do, I guess, the first rough cut, but it's like still in the film, in a feature film editing, it's so much subtext, sub-context, what you're showing when on the screen. You don't show every time, like when somebody speaks, you don't show the guy who's speaking, but based on the story, maybe you just need to show this guy, and this guy who's having a monologue, you don't show at all. And that all comes in the concept of a bigger arc from the beginning to end. What is the character arc? Why do you use this exact shot in this place? So I think this can be hard a little bit to learn, not impossible. But I think the hardest is still when you make the decisions based on the feeling. Because you have to feel, I mean, when you watch the scene or watch the take or material, you feel, okay, this is correct to go in here. Then I come out there, and I don't know how with the feelings with AI at the moment, but not so many
yeah.
yet.
That was the next kind of question. Do you, as a human, understand or think, or what is your perspective on is there a possibility for AI ever learn how to do these dramatic pauses? Maybe where is this emotional feeling? At the moment, as you said, no one knows how is AI with feelings working at the moment, but maybe it will somehow influence the feeling of film being alive, or development of the language or visual or sound language when AI starts being involved in movie editing and movie creating more. Or do you think that there will be still some point of human director final decision created movie?
Well, first of all, never say never. Again, I think these are just different kind of films, first of all. So, and this is definitely, I think, can happen. But this feeling side is really, and we only had now half an hour, but it's the most, for me, intriguing part of the editing is actually, okay, you know the story, you know the script writing, you should know the character arcs and acts and etc., but where does it come, this impulse of cutting here, cutting there? Basically, we'll talk hard problem of consciousness. Basically, what happens with this reflection, with these images, with this person. So, and that, at the moment, I guess, it's not there in AI. But you never know, maybe it's so rapid, so in 5 years, it's gonna feel and do the versions.
But right now, thankfully, in my personal opinion, thankfully right now it is the decision of the humans still the final decision, but this is an interesting perspective that maybe we already have the separate labels for made by human or made by AI, so maybe it's just the future of the cinema to see a couple of different versions, maybe of the same movie, or maybe of different movies, the same director. But thank you so much. Tambet, do you have something to add? Maybe we can move to the questions. How do you feel?
Yeah, we can move to the questions if you
Thanks. Thank you very much for this presentation. You mentioned in the beginning you received editing education in LA, where you had some time spent there. Could you pinpoint a specific difference in approach to filmmaking if you compare United States and East Europe Estonian productions, or maybe in a context of the editing, for example?
Well, I think let's say Hollywood and European, I think Hollywood still is more story-driven, more plot-driven films. They need to be more quick, entertaining, but now talking about the films that come usually, let's say, all blockbusters or whatever, call it blockbusters. And they tend to show more, when I talk about editing, about how characters interact. And I think in European cinema, they leave more open for the fantasy of the viewer. So they tend to cut less, let's say, when you say a line, and I know that in Hollywood you will show how the other guy is reacting or say something, but it's and you don't show it, and it's a decision. And it doesn't mean that the reactions that happen, it happens somewhere in the head of the viewer. So I think that it's this kind of difference. I feel Europeans tend to show less to leave more space for the viewers' fantasy or whatever. Did you answer the question?
Thank you.
Hi, and thank you for the presentation. I was wondering from a making perspective, do you utilize ambience while making rough cuts, or how much does music influence a really early phase of making cuts? Do you use any ambience, or would you recommend that?
Ambience as in music, or like sound design, you mean ambience? Instrumentals. Yeah, I mean definitely, I mean music is such a powerful device, and the sound overall. I mean saying like it's 51% of the sound, and then comes the picture, because it's like really how you perceive this world when you go to the cinema. It makes this whole experience alive, good sound and good music. So in order to understand how it's gonna pace anyway, yes, I definitely need to use some music, some kind of temp music, and of course it can be problematic, and then you fall in love with the music, and then you show it to the composer who doesn't want to hear anything that you have put under, and then they come with something that's like totally different. It's like, it's a little bit different kind of forms, but in a way you need, I think you need to use some kind of music in order to understand the basic.
Thank you so much. I think we don't have more time for the questions, and we will move on with other parts. But thank you so much, Tambet. Let's give a round of applause.
Thank you.
Okay, I actually wish that we would have more time for these great speakers, but the train must go on, and the next part of the seminar is going to be a panel discussion. And I'm going to introduce you the topic and also the people who are in the panel. So the topic is from local stories to the world's big screens, identity and networks in international cinema. So I'd like to invite these lovely little couches. First, Erol Mintaş, the director. Please come here. Next, Ayman Alhussein, a filmmaker. Then Genki Takigawa, director and producer. Then Rafig Hajiyev, director, please. And then Boris Litovchenko, cinematographer. And finally, Michel Cordey, director. Please come here.
It's like the biggest panel I've ever seen. Maybe, yes, please. Waiting for mics to arrive. Maybe I catch up on some time. Good afternoon, my name is Otto Kylmälä. I'm a filmmaker, and I'm also a critic and a curator working at the Arts and Culture Agency, curating the Kino Regina Cinematheque in Helsinki. Thank you very much for Saimaa Film Festival. This has been a great day professionally, also the tour that we got to see about kind of the local, special, regional parts of Imatra and Lappeenranta. Truly a beautiful venue, and also the speakers, very inspiring stuff, and this kind of like interesting cross-section of themes of identity, borders, crossing borders, and how stories travel as well. So, but since we are here with the Saimaa Film Festival, also trying to establish some kind of regional support for filmmakers, I would like to start maybe asking all of you, what are the greatest obstacles for filmmakers in your region at the moment? Is it grants, funding? Is it political? Maybe Erol, can you start and get the ball rolling?
Okay, hello everyone, I'm Erol Mintaş. I'm a director, screenwriter and producer. So I live and work in Finland for the last 10 years. Before that I was in Istanbul. I lived there and worked there. I made films there, and now I just did my one of my film in Finland, in Helsinki, and it's completed. It's called Maan laulu, Earth Song, and it's going to be in cinemas in December in Finland and Sweden, so you all are very welcome to see the film. So in a way then I am as a filmmaker working in between different places like Finland, Turkey and Kurdistan, and my stories are connected to those places in a way that I can say that in intercultural way and transborder context, my stories takes place. So I mean the obstacle of the filmmaking nowadays, I think more or less is the same. Many speakers pointed out for every places. In Finland, we have like many challenges because of the funding and cuts on cultural fundings. So that brings already a pressure on the cultural scene and also the amount of the films to be produced. And also the amount of the stories, so that's already a bigger obstacle, and then there are like many other different obstacles that already Ayman pointed also in his presentations when it's come to the diverse stories, and that is another lack of the stories that we don't see on the screens. And always, for example, in the context of Finland, first that I believe Finland is diverse, and I see the diversity in the cities and streets, especially Helsinki is my city, and then I see this diversity there and the multilingual place. But this is this does not exist very well on the screen. I believe the screens are not diverse. So connecting to the same things. Sorry. Connected the same things to the Turkey is exactly the same thing. So the screens are not that diverse, but if you look at the Turkey, it's a very diverse country, linguistically, geographically, and also culturally. So again, it comes to the question of the inclusivity and who is getting chance to tell their stories and who is not. So basically, in that sense, there is no difference between Finland and Turkey, in that sense. But then there are other things coming to the table. One of them is the lack of the resources, fundings, and then the infrastructure of the industry and so on. I mean, in Turkey, still we have there also a film fund, and they are like producing the films every year. But in Finland is not yet maybe, but in Turkey, then the everyday politics or politics shapes too much, like cultural life, and also like there might be censorship, but there is also auto-censorship. So then like automatically writers and creators start to censorship themselves, like let's don't write this because anyway we are not gonna find any funding for it. But that's the thing, is same in Finland as well, because sometimes creators see themselves saying that let's don't write that story, they are not gonna support it anyways. So it's kind of like same kind of like issue is everywhere, because the whole globe is a very small place anyways, and especially nowadays I think we all have the same problems. Well, Amma should go on.
Yes, well, let's move on to how many mics do we have?
We have one.
Well, Michel.
Yeah, I think in Canada the biggest obstacle right now is that I feel like Americans are our friends and our enemies at the same time, because they make people work with the production in Montreal but the thing is the streaming platforms don't invest. They take all the watching time, but don't invest in local productions. So there was a big discussion in Canada about what they call the Netflix tax, to make them invest money into the local production because of the part of the market that they took. And right now, because of the discussions and the trade agreements between the US and Canada, this tax was abandoned by the current government. So this is, basically it means that there is less money to fund our cultural cinema that really shares our identities, and Americans takes more and more place and give less and less money to compensate for the space that they take.
And then Azerbaijan.
Yes. Well, talking about the obstacle, I think the first obstacle in Azerbaijan is to funding, because we started new for all this stuff, like Ministry of Culture will work on it, because there is some old laws from the Soviet times which say you can't do this, you can't do that, and etc. But Ministry of Culture work on that. So, for example, we have no one funds in Azerbaijan, like for film or some artistic things. So they work on it hard. And I know many talented people in Azerbaijan which have many interesting projects, but they can't bring them to life because of funding. Okay, so many actors, many directors, many scriptwriters, many interesting story. The good news is we have some changes already, like what Boris said before. We have now new law in Azerbaijan which say, so if you make a film, you're paying about 2% of taxes, okay. Thank you. So, and we interested in co-production, because this is another way to make a film with the government support. So they now start some programs like cash rebate, about 40%. By the way, a few days ago, the Genki Chan was in Azerbaijan. He shot his film, new film, just seen. It's a Kazakhstan production, but take place a few scenes there. And what I'm talking about is, I don't know how it's called, maybe this program is called 50-50. So if you find some budget with co-production with some country, for example, I don't know, Turkey or Finland or whatever, the government, the Azerbaijan government can pay another 50. So you can make the film. So we're working on this, we're trying hard. Thank you.
There are a lot of points about co-production or making film. So, but I think finance is very important, and treaty or some potential is important. But I think most important thing is passion. So which point is most important point about passion? So sometimes I use Japanese and try to speak my own English, but my English is not good. So 情熱の炎がつく場所を見つけて、そこに向かってみんなで頑張ろうってなったら、どんな状況でもみんなで頑張れるけど、それなくただただお金集まったからやろうぜって言ってお金儲けで集まるとか、なんかそのポテンシャル側、外側だけで集まった人でやったらうまくいかないけど、成し遂げたい何かがあるんだ、これで俺たちはカンヌに行くんだみたいな、そういうなんか目的がある青春をしてるような仲間じゃなくて無理なんじゃないかな。
I think the making the film is like the most important things is to find the clear destinations. Like if we have if we found a core, the passion, it will be get in good way. But in other hand, like if we gather only to make the money, it will get in the bad way. So that is the important things while making the film.
Passion is the most important, I think.
Well said. Money is not the only thing for films.
Hello everyone. Probably heard me earlier, so I don't need to reintroduce myself. I'm going to talk about the UK and then what is the biggest obstacle at the moment, and then talk about my line of work and what's the biggest obstacle there. So in the UK it's quite different, to be honest. There's a lot of films happening and being made in the UK, you know, it's like a big market for films and stuff. But it is quite an interesting situation because we obviously know the pandemic and like how it kind of like stopped the whole industry. But in the UK after the COVID pandemic, we actually had a massive boom in the UK where like there were a lot of movies and TV shows being made. And what that had done is, amazingly, a lot of people got jobs and a lot of films got made. But there's an aftermath of that in which a lot of people got into the industry because there weren't enough people to do the jobs, like, you know, camera people or editors or actors, etc. It's mostly like crew, where now the industry has slowed down quite a lot compared to 2023. And unfortunately, a lot of people now are out of jobs. So I know a lot of directors, producers, actors, cinematographers who actually have to, you know, go and do a second job. Where before, some people would say, you know, I've been working as a producer, for example, they would say for 10 years, and now I can't get one job. So I think this is the biggest obstacle in the UK. Also, competition has always been big in the UK, so now the good jobs, or like people who are working, are mostly people with the longest experience and the most connected. So like if you have your connections, it's basically the elite of the industry. Where like younger or like, you know, more indie filmmakers are really struggling to break in, and that also has something to do with Netflix and streaming platforms really not working only with the best people. So in my line of work, when you talk about immigration or human rights or like social issues in the films I work on, the story really has to be super powerful to get funding. And like for independent films, for example, most funding comes, you know, smaller budgets, like 1, 2, 3 million would probably come from the BBC or like BFI, but then you get thousands of scripts being submitted every year, and like, you know, only like 10, 15, 20 get made in the end. And you can work so hard, you get funding to write a script or something, and then you can get to the later stage and then they might just say, we're not going to do it. So it's really, really competitive, and I think two big things is that very competitive, 1, and 2 is that you really, for someone who wants to get into the industry, it's really difficult. For people like me, I really struggled to get into the industry, and what I found that I had to do is that I had to write my own stories, and that's one of the ways that you can sort of say if you want to become a director, obviously you start writing your own stories. But for me, I want to mainly become a cinematographer. So you rarely find people who want to become cinematographers writing their own stories, or like stories they know. So people having to do multiple different things to that they don't necessarily want to do, just to sort of break into the industry. Where I feel like 5 or like 7, 8 years ago, this wasn't the case. So yeah, I'm not going to speak for too long.
And just about the Netflix, I think Netflix also had a very big impact in Turkey side. So before like 10 years ago, let's say, you would easily bring people together and make a film like with a passion, which is like very important. But then after COVID and all this platform came, and then platforms also like in a way that, of course, because they come with a economy or budget that is like bigger than what country has, and maybe France was, you know, one of them, and Quebec, maybe they made like these good agreements in a way that they have to invest in the local cinema. So Turkey didn't do that as well, and then they came and they raised the salaries of the workers, and also they went only
working with established big companies that they are already established, they already have money. And then when those big companies start to make all this content for the platforms, and then everybody goes around them, and people who used to work for the art house cinema, they start to say no, because they come to go work for 2 films instead of that they go work for 1 TV series, and it's much better. So, but that is like maybe, in a short time, maybe it looks good because it gives economy some boost, and then the industry workers some higher salary. But in a long term, it really kills the whole art house cinema. So that is like, luckily, it's not happening in Finland that much. So it's in a way that this public funding, of course, is also very important to have it. To connect all these things with Saimaa maybe, like because here, there are like very exciting people and passionate people about establishing something, bringing something here. So what is the best way to bring people here to work together? And then when we talk about the international co-production, one thing I will suggest to think very carefully about it. I just finished my film, and it's a co-production. And co-production is not always making things really easy. If I can manage to make a film in Finland only with Finnish money, I go with that, of course. But then sometimes you have to bring those international co-productions. But when you bring the international co-production, it doesn't necessarily make the budget lower. Actually, it's kind of like adding up a lot. So you have to think about all these parameters when you are establishing collaborations with people and what kind of structure you want to build here. I would suggest maybe that there are still a lot of filmmakers that they in Finland also lack resources, and somehow to bring those production here, but add also more international co-production to it. So first go into step by step, or maybe vice versa, if the first international production to come here and shot their films. If they have budget, so that's kind of give some kind of a budget for you to establish your funding, then you can kind of broaden it. So it's not a kind of straightforward thing when you say that I want to establish a funding and then work internationally. Also, what is internationally it's a kind of a question mark. What we regard as international, what is not. International shouldn't be always like these American productions coming to Tampere or here and there shooting the film, but international could be that can we establish really right collaborations with other part of the world that even maybe underrepresented communities such as Kurdistan, as an example, can be different collaborations be established there.
And international means also films that travel abroad,
Yes,
local stories and interesting stuff that will be seen globally. Which brings maybe to my next question, which was touched upon earlier with Ayman and Michel about authenticity, identity, but I'm curious to hear others as well, how has your identity shaped you as a filmmaker? Was it out of necessity like Ayman, or was it passion like Genki? Maybe Genki can start.
Very difficult question. Identity. 僕は映画が大好きで、もともとプロ野球選手になりたかったけど諦めて野球選手になって、傷ついた時、落ち込んだ時、嫌なことがあった時に映画を見て救われたから、僕の映画を見てくれた人が笑顔になってくれたらいいなっていう気持ちで作ってるということ。あと 自分よがりにならない。ここまで先。
So first, like when he was a student, like his dream was to become like the baseball player, but he gets like injured of the shoulders, and then he needs to give up. And then like the films help him to get like to stand, like get more like the motivates of the living the life. So a film helped him. So so his motto and an identity is like, if the audience saw his film, they wanted to feel like encouraged, you know, like they wanted to be motivated of the life. So that is his identity for the film. So one more thing is, don't be like the selfish. Don't be like selfish to making the film. Well, he always like the research about the target of the audience and what kind of the like the genre or interest in like the what kind of the tradition. Basically, like in Kyoto, what kind of the tradition are attract the audience. They research and he think about like really carefully, and after that he make the film. So like for example, like maybe everyone will like the Kobe, so maybe we should show the Kobe, but that is not, you know, it's too subjective. So before making the film, we need to research like deeply about the audience.
Next. Well, actually, I never thought about, some reason of making a movie for me. I don't know how to say, any culture or something. But I think, like for me, many people, many directors, shooting films about some problems in society or whatever, which is good. But I would like most time create stories just a little bit unreal, because again, for me, I always dreaming about creating some stories that never can be happen in real life. So this is my point. For example, when I was 12, first time I found, VHS cassette, which was famous. And the very first that I watched, there was a few films, and one of them was Star Wars. And when I watched Star Wars, I was 12, I think, or 11, I don't know. I thought, oh, okay, that's what I want to do, but I didn't know what's mean directing, filming. I thought that I will create, cosmic ships and will fly away from some, spaces. But the good news for me, I can do it today, but on screen. Okay, so I think that we have a dream on that period of the life when we were young, but we didn't realize, we didn't understand what is the dream is, because I thought that my dream was to create the ships, and then I became a filmmaker. Okay, he bring me this way. And by the way, I am Kira, can you help me with some translation? Я закончил медицинский институт, факультет общей хирургии.
So Rafig is saying that he actually have graduated from medical school, the surgery faculty.
So I am surgeon, but I'm studying only, now I'm cutting, but not the people, just the films. Yes. There was one time one guy asked me, what is the difference, cutting and surgery? And I say, you can do mistake here, but can't do mistake there on the surgery table, okay? So this is the thing.
So we have 3 editors here.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe Ayman.
What was the question again?
Well, for you, you already addressed it, how your identity has shaped you as a filmmaker.
For me, I think filmmaking is a tool of activism. I truly, it's, out of necessity that I wanted to do activism in the form of film, because not many people do that. But yeah, I think it is difficult because the stories I tell are not easy to make and not easily funded. So, Erol was talking about censorship. I wouldn't say we have, particularly censorship in the UK, but there's a lot of fear of the right wing. So, for example, the short film Imatra that I made got funded by the BBC and BFI to become a feature film. But then, you probably all know The Telegraph. So The Telegraph went and wrote an article about the BBC funding pro-migration films, which is not necessarily, the film is not a pro-migration, it's just an authentic story. So that is, I think one more of a reason why I want to do what I want, what I do now, sort of using film as a tool to educate, because I think when we talk about numbers and articles or the news and statistics, people I think nowadays are quite numb to these things and quite bored and you can't really reach people's hearts. People try to avoid looking at the news and all these things, but when you make art, in this case film, you put these stories in front of people in a very nice way where they don't feel forced to watch them. And what's nice about films is that people can make their own judgment about the characters and the story, and especially if you're making an authentic story, then you're giving people, you're humanizing people. If you're telling a human story, you're humanizing people rather than just them being numbers on a paper or on a newspaper or on a screen. So yeah, that's I think how I identify myself in my work.
What about Erol?
It's a very good question. Why are we making movies? Because I didn't want to be a baseball player, I wanted to be a hockey player. And I don't think I would be a filmmaker if I wasn't in a wheelchair. Because when I was young, I had to spend a lot of time alone, and I think it forced me to use my imagination, and that's how I started to write stories, and it grew into the need to make movies. But for me, it's every time I work on a new project, on a new film, it doesn't feel like work. It's the only thing that makes sense to me because everything is possible. And I live a life where there are a lot of things that I can't do, But when I make a movie, I feel like I can do everything. So it's a form of freedom, and it's a big part of why I enjoy so much making movies and tell stories.
Well, yeah, it's a very important question. I also studied computer science, so how I start to kind of switch to the filmmaking. I was very much interested in storytelling because in my family and in Kurdish culture also oral storytelling and oral history is very important. You know, we have been oppressed by very big nations like from Iranians and Iraq, Syria part, Arab nations and Turkish. So it's kind of like thousands of years, and this last 100 years especially. So you have to preserve something, the culture, especially the language, and that's why like the oral storytelling and most of the history is told orally between generations. So that was like my interest, and my mother was a very good storyteller. Even later on when I saw the story of Tarzan or these kind of things, and I was like, okay, my mother told me that I know these kind of stories already from my childhood. So I was like really interested in telling stories, like just to tell something. But then later on, of course, I was very much interested in literature and other things and philosophy and sociology, but when I start to see the movies, not every movie, but especially like Bresson and Tarkovsky films, somehow I start to feel something else that I was, or some understanding that was coming to me in multiple dimensions to make sense of this world in a different way that you cannot make sense in the same way with the poetry text or just like hearing something, but it was coming in the, you can hear it at the same time, you can see it, you can feel it on your body, and so you can read it at the same time. So in that sense, it was kind of like widening my really how you say understanding of the world. Then I got interested in. But when I, of course, start to make the first films, it was the firstly to how I can contribute the preservation of the language, and also to partially to kind of like the activist part of it, like how I can bring those stories that they have been ignored, that they haven't been heard. So then when we were students, we were basically collecting our student grant and then a couple of months and then going back to somewhere that we make short films, and this is how we start to do the first films without any support, and then later on kind of a community start to be built around that. But first thing then it was, I think, to reconnect with your own history, but also to use the film as a kind of like maybe more like a tool to how you say make sense of your own experience, and still I think the film is one of way for me here being in Finland, living in Finland, and between those cultures and you know over the borders, etc. So it's still like it's a way of making sense of my own experience in this world, within this society, or with others. So it's kind of like, for me, it's a way to connect and make sense.
Very interesting. How are we for time? Maybe one question. Do we take audience questions? Maybe I'll ask one brief question, and I ask you politely to keep it brief and snappy. The identity ties into, obviously, to films that travel, because, like the cliche goes, local is global. But how do you protect the details and the identity you bring into your to your films? How do you protect that when you're making the film with international co-productions? You're making a Japanese film that will travel abroad, or you're making from lived experiences your own story. how do you protect that it doesn't get muddled in compromises and just commercial demands? Maybe Michel, start.
I've never worked on a co-production, so I couldn't answer specifically on that aspect, but I think when you make a film from a very local story, from a very personal point of view, and you find an audience outside of your region or your country, that's to me a sort of validation that it's authentic when it resonates with other people around the world. So to me, it's not about how to keep things keep authenticity in the film. It's how you can share it with other people and agree and discuss on the subject of the film. So I think it's the other way around, actually. I think you take it from a very personal place and see how it can become universal with audiences everywhere.
Okay, I'll just shortly, this time very short. Yeah, I think I agree. Like, you know, what was it? Who was it? Gorky or someone said that, like, you know, you tell the story of your village and it's gonna be like the universal story. So it's like the aim is to, because we are telling the human story and the human being is human being everywhere. So when you tell the story honestly and really genuinely the story of those characters, and I'm pretty sure everyone can connect with these characters. So, but not like stereotypes and this kind of artificial, in a way, characters that doesn't make sense in other words. So in that sense, I think when you write it just and see the global, you know, the whole world as one, then I think it's easy to reach others.
Never did co-production yet. I hope I will. But in the sense of, you know, some, I didn't have that obstacle to like, where I have to protect the project, or I have some pitchings. Yes, I was on the pitching, and then I was just, I don't know, maybe I tried to explain how important the story, not only for me, but for audience, for country, for people, and again, as Japanese brother said before, you have an passion. For example, there is many projects in the world, very, you know, famous project that has very long time to bring them to life, because firstly, some extraordinary projects were not accepted by many companies. People don't understand. For example, I didn't know, I know it in the future, but there is the film, you already know, Back to the Future. It was rejected by 40+ times from all big companies in America. And finally, Steven Spielberg, the producing, and it happens. And there is many projects. So I think this is the process.
I think respect each other is important. So we have to throw away stereotypes, but we have stereotypes. So I try to understand inside of my mind. So for example, so my situation in Japan and Italy co-production situation. So my business partner said, without the milk, they said, one of the producers said, so we never use milk for carbonara, but in Japan we use carbonara with milk. So, but she doesn't use it. But she never use milk, and even if reserve the pasta. So, but I talk about finance with other finance producer. So, but she said, so hey businessman, so just eat, no ask, no speak. So because before timing is the best for pasta. So it's a bit Italian culture, but I didn't know. So like that. So こんな簡単なことでもそこにプライドがあったりとか、その国の特徴があるから、そういうことを理解し合うっていうことをちっちゃいところから理解し合って落とし込むことが大事だと思うので、それは日本にも同じようにあるので、とにかくたくさん会話してたくさん信頼関係を作ることがいいんじゃないかな、大事にしていることです。
So the example of the pasta, the carbonara, is a really small thing, but they have like their own culture, and we have to. We have our own culture, and they also have it. So the important thing is to communicate and create, create more good communication, and that is the important things. The back and forth with communication, when we understand their culture and also they will understand the cultures. So that is the important things, to protect each other's culture and identity.
I keep forgetting the question.
Some pasta recipes. How do you protect the details, authenticity of everything you bring into the film?
So it's a very difficult thing. It's an extremely difficult thing. But there's always a creative license. But the creative license is like how much can you use that? I think depending on the topic. So if you're telling a human rights story or like a human story, I don't think you have much creative license, but you still have creative license. In my case, Will Britannia, when you see it on the 15th, the director and we had like 25, 30 revisions, and around like revision number 20, I said I quit. So I almost quit because we disagreed on a certain part of the film. And I'm not saying you should just go like, oh, I'm quitting. I'm saying like this is after a long back and forth. But I think I don't think we should get too excited just because we're making a film, any film we make. I think there will be in every project, and depending on the project, there should be some principles that can't be changed. So like in my case, sort of romanticizing or redeeming a really bad character, where in real life that wouldn't happen if you're telling an authentic story. So that was like a red line for me. So you draw your red lines, but also communication is very, very important. So if I say no to this, I need to really explain why I'm saying no to this and like why I think it wouldn't work. Because if you just say no and you don't explain why you're saying no, then you're not really collaborating. So it's all about collaboration, and collaboration has to, I think the back and forth and like people sort of saying, oh, I think this is better, I think that better, and then, bringing people with lived experience, for example, in my case, makes the whole process a lot easier. And in terms of co-production, I've lived through this. On the Swimmers, we went to Turkey. So half of the film was actually shot in Turkey, and we had Turkish crews, and we had the English crews from the UK. And that was a very interesting combination because like most of the crew and technically speak English, and the English never speak any bloody languages, so they only speak English. But that was very interesting, and I think co-production there, I think there were a lot of positivities about it because making half of the film in Turkey was amazing financially. Also the location worked well for the story because it looked more like you could make Syria look like it's in Turkey. But also I think for me, like working in so many different departments like costume and makeup, locations, props, literally every department, I think co-production, you need to obviously be authentic. If you're doing a film about Finland and, I don't know, in Greece, you need to see if that is possible. 1, 2 is that you need to give it your best to not make it look like not in Finland. You know what I mean? Because like that happens a lot nowadays. And to be able to do that, you need the power to be able to do this. So in my case in Turkey, the director said to me, anything you think doesn't look right in any department, you go talk to them, and then if they say no, you come talk to me. And we did a lot of that. So like many cases there were like so many mistakes. Not people, you know, wanting to make mistakes, just they don't know. So if you do co-production, you need to make sure you're doing it right. Otherwise, you save money, but then your film maybe is not very good. Yeah, but then obviously, I think principles are the most important thing, plus collaboration.
Nicely put. Are we on time? Terribly over. Any audience questions, or they will be taken in the sauna or later in the bar or something? Should we wrap it up?
I think so.
We need to move on. Okay, thank you very much. We learned a lot about pastime and hockey, and thank you everybody for the panel.